All right, I just bought a building out in Chattanooga, so today I'm going to take you guys on a tour with me and the team as we walk through the building. We're going to be taking a look at it, putting together our plans for the takeover, which includes any renovations, any kind of tenants that we want to look at. I'll show you what we do with drone footage, video footage, and photos on the interior so that we get the listing prepped. Let's go. So I never eat breakfast, but every time we go down to Chattanooga, I have to stop in Manchester to charge the Tesla. And there's a Bojangles next door, and so it's like become a tradition for me. So we're going to go in and get some Bojangles while the car charges. So while we are waiting for the car to stop charging, I figured I might introduce you guys to the team because it's been, I guess we've been doing this for over 40 videos now, and this is kind of our first vlog. So this is Julian. Julian here is the director of marketing. So Julian is responsible for making me look good, and he definitely does his best. So he is the one that does all the motion graphics, all the video editing, all the audio over here. And so Julian, say hey to everybody.
Yo.
Back over here is Andy.
Howdy, y'all.
Andy works at the development company, and he is my analyst, but really the right-hand man, right? Like, he helps me with all the underwriting, all the research on our projects. He's the one that basically makes sense that everything that I say we should be doing is logical. So the property we bought is a 9-story office tower in downtown Chattanooga called the Newell Tower. It was originally built in 1915 as a hotel. And because of that, a lot of the rooms are smaller, which fits in line with my development thesis of micro units. I feel like there aren't enough small units out there for startups and entrepreneurs. So we will be renovating the office building, and we'll actually be converting at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 of the floors to micro apartment units. So think, 400, 500 square foot studios and 1-bedrooms, because we're only a couple blocks from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. So it's an ideal living scenario for college students. The other thing is too, in Chattanooga, there's not a whole lot of downtown living available. So when we were talking to lenders on this project, they told us that the highest residential units were actually on the 5th floor in downtown Chattanooga. Well, we're gonna have some on the 8th and 9th floors. So that helps us bring a very unique product to market. So not only are they smaller, which will bring us a higher leasing velocity, but they are also incredibly unique because they have vaulted ceilings and 360-degree views of all of the ridges around Chattanooga. So we're standing in the lobby of Newell Tower right now. I'm actually going to be demoing all of the floors. We'll be demoing this wall out. My plans are to actually have a coffee shop or a cafe as the lobby entrance. So whenever you walk into the building, you're immediately greeted by this beautiful coffee shop. We're talking to a couple of groups out of Nashville. We're also opening up the conversation with some different coffee shops here in Chattanooga locally. The tower was originally constructed in 1915, and it was called the Park Hotel. So all of the rooms are actually fairly small, which means that it really fits into my micro unit idea for office and apartment space. So turning these units into micro offices for 1 to 5 person businesses is going to be fairly simple. So we've been in the building all day, and we stopped at Main Street Meats to
to get some lunch, take a break. Chattanooga is a very interesting city. It's about 1/10 the size of Nashville, and one of the reasons that we decided to start investing here is because of the technology boom that I think that Chattanooga is going to really start seeing over the next few years. About 10 years ago, the city actually started installing fiber throughout the entire city, and Chattanooga really treats it as a utility, which means that for tech companies that need high-powered internet, it's present just about everywhere that you can go. I also like to compare Chattanooga as a mix between Denver and Nashville. It's got very southern feel to it, but it's also very outdoorsy. You've got the mountains, you've got the river, you've got all the hiking, rock climbing, everything that you want to do outdoors here, as well as kind of that southern feel. And at the end of the day, you're only 2 hours from Nashville and 2 hours from Atlanta, so you think about how amazing this city is as a distribution hub. Think about that. If you're manufacturing products, you could ship them to Nashville in 2 hours, Atlanta in 2 hours, you can be in North Carolina in 2 hours. That's a pretty big determinant for manufacturing companies as to why they would move to the city.
One of the more unique features of this building that we're really excited about, like I said earlier, is that the tallest residential units in Chattanooga right now are on the 5th floor. Right now we're standing on the 9th. You can see that it was demoed. It looks very much like the original hotel with all the exposed brick and the original plaster. We're actually going to leave as much of this character as we can so that when residential tenants come in to lease the space, it's as unique as it possibly can be. Let's go check out the roof. One of the reasons I decided to buy this building is that from the upper floors, you actually have a 360-degree view of every ridgeline in Chattanooga. It's a little bit windy up here today, but you can see right behind me, there's the Walker Theater, and only 2 or 3 blocks away is the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, so it's a phenomenal location. So it may not be the best conditions today. We don't have the sunniest or most beautiful clear skies, but I'm not going to drive all the way out here and not at least get some drone footage of the building. So here we go. Well, we had quite an eventful afternoon wrapping everything up after we went to Main Street Meats. So, of course, I set everything up to do a 3D tour of the ground floor. I do a 3D tour on every single property that we, whether we list it, we're buying it, selling it, whatever, we always do a 3D tour because it opens up your buyer pool or your tenant pool to groups that are out of state. They can get in and actually take a look at everything. Well, I was going to shoot a 3D tour because of the lobby, because we have all of these coffee shops that are interested in taking that ground floor, and I wanted to be able to show them, what it could look like if they demoed some of the walls out. And of course, as soon as I set it up, the monopod just fell right over and broke my 3D camera in half. So ruined that plan. Julian, however, was able to get some video footage for it. So hopefully that'll suffice for now. But yeah, that one really hurt. I think Julian was about as sad as I was. We both about started crying. And then I had to rush out of the building to go get then we had to rush out of the building to run to the bank for the wire cut off. And of course, every Bank of America in Chattanooga was closed. So I had to call my partners in Texas. Shout out Stephanie. Thank you so much for running to the bank and taking care of that. You are right. I totally owe you one. She got there right before the wire cut off and got all the money transferred for the building since we were buying it, and that needed to get sent out today. And of course, right as we were running out, the electrician shows up to cut the power off to the building because we hadn't yet transferred the power yet. So we had to deal with that while we were driving to the bank, and I'm in a great mood because my 3D camera broke. But that's how our afternoon went. So we just got back to the office, and one thing that I always like to do is kind of debrief with the team after going on a site tour, just to get everybody's full thoughts and opinions. So, Julian, Andy, I know you guys had a pretty good nap on the car ride back.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about Chattanooga?
Chattanooga is a really cool city. Once you get there, you realize that there's just a lot of this old time architecture from, the early 1900s, that industrial era. You got those cool brick storefronts and just a lot of character to the city. It really feels like a city that's thriving, that feels alive, even during COVID. And I just can't imagine how cool it will be in the summertime when things are open again and when, COVID's over.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like, Chattanooga was, I'm sure a lot of people still know this, but you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at it today.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s, it was voted the dirtiest, or it might have been 70s, dirtiest city in America.
Wow.
Dirtiest city. I mean, there's
God.
literally stories about like businessmen who wore white button downs. They would bring a second white button down with them to work because their white button down would be gray by lunchtime. And so they would change because there was so much soot and ash in the air. It was a very industrial city.
Okay.
So you get a lot of that just raw early 1900s, late 1800s architecture because it was booming with that manufacturing. Because, I mean, like we've said earlier, it's 2 hours to Nashville and 2 hours to Atlanta. And so you think from a manufacturing perspective how beneficial that is for those groups. I mean, of course it will have all of that kind of architecture, right? You look at Louisville and Birmingham. They have the same thing. That's honestly one thing that kind of disappoints me about Nashville. Nashville never had a big manufacturing boom.
Right.
So we didn't get a lot of those cool warehouses.
And it's interesting that you say that it was the dirtiest city back in the 1980s or whatever, because going there now, you would never think that.
No.
They've got so much redevelopment, and I think it's been very intentional by the city of Chattanooga to focus on those green energies. They have those electric buses that are free for residents, and I think for non-residents too, for anybody, that just take people around the downtown area, that allow people to get around to their shopping, to their groceries, to activities without needing a car. So that's a great thing for walkability, public transportation, and there's a lot of organizations like River City Company down there that are focusing, nonprofit organizations focusing on how do we clean up the area, how are we intentional about including all different groups, all different walks of life, and making sure Chattanooga is a great place to live. And you can really see the fruits of their effort.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would vote Chattanooga as one of the greenest cities in America now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing. It's 1/10 the size of Nashville. I think they've got maybe 200,000 people there. But you noticed every parking meter was pay by app.
Yeah.
You have bike lanes and crosswalks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot. There's almost no free parking, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is very paid. And so because of that, a lot of people are walking. It's a very green and tech-forward city, which to me is unbelievably fascinating compared to how small it is to Nashville.
Yeah, and earlier today we were talking about the tech focus part. There are so many startup companies coming to Chattanooga because cost of living, because this walkability, sustainability. You've got great amenities like the forest and the mountains, and really one of the biggest thing is the gig internet, which makes Chattanooga called the gig city, right? It makes it just incredible to have a city treat internet access as a public utility, because every single person you talk to in Chattanooga says EPB, they're the electric power board that owns the fiber internet cable. They said they're great to work with. When's the last time you've heard your internet service provider being great to work with?
Yeah. So that's it for our tour of the Newell Tower in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I hope you guys enjoyed tagging along with us on this property tour. If you enjoyed this vlog style as much as I did, let me know in the comments below. We'd love to keep this content coming at you. We'll see you guys next time.